My whole life they didn't want me
Taste the
to do shit. You know
motherfucking
what I
freedom.
mean?
You know what I'm
Saying what you gonna do, where
Get
you
kind
gonna
of
go,
crazy sometimes, you know what I'm
how you
saying? You
gonna
just
make
got
some
shit, I
money.
just
I mean,
push, you know what I'm saying? Me, the way I work is I keep operating because I never fail, you know what I'm saying? I fall, I pick myself back up, I keep going, you know what I'm saying? Time to march, fuck what happens, you know?
King's
You
Logic,
can't take me
Female
down.
D.
There's no force in
Hey,
this
yo,
world that
Vaughn,
can fucking cancel my
come on
energy.
up.
Fuck it,
Get
you
down
know?
here.
Let's go.
The key, what? I'm back. Lace the track. Already twisted, no need to introduce. Get lifted one line. Political rap, milk, killing cancer like pills. Pop the general, it's arsenic. Retarded to the flame. Go against the grain, feel the same numb pain. Fuck shots, grab the bottle. Getting hollow, run for cover like the day after tomorrow. You can say it's chill, life's cold, but keep it real. Undercover, lost the battle, but still won the war. Dark side of the force, mind trick, transform. Jedi John Connor, doing what you wanna. Puffin' nails, hydroponics, getting lost in the madness. Sustained at the level that you practice. On my own planet while I bring it back to Earth. Crashing like a comet and I'm coming feet first. Fuck that, already spent and it ain't no apple pie. Try to tell the truth when you living in a lie.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Tills from the Chris. I'm your host, Chris White, Mucosal Melanoma Survivor, Thriver, and Advocate. On my podcast, we talk about anything and everything, and it's all on the table. Please welcome my first guest, Patrick Guddal.
So
Straight up, man.
whoever wants to jump in, more the merrier.
Yeah. Um, so I met you at I met you in person in Washington for advocacy days this past March, but we connected on Facebook through our Mucosal Melanoma Warriors group. You actually posted something on there about doing a survey and getting paid. And so that's how what I initially did, and then just started following your other groups, and then met you in Washington. But dude, would you share a little bit like on your story on how you got to where you are and what you do?
Well, the short story is I was there's no such thing as a short story, to be honest with
Right.
you. As you know, this will be as abridged as it possibly can without compromising the important information. I was diagnosed in 2016 with ultimately what advanced to stage 3B nodular melanoma. I had a primary on my scalp that didn't, I thought it was a scratch. It uh, instead of healing, got bigger, and my barber ultimately identified it as a mole. And then I went in for a punch biopsy and got a call the next day to hurry back in, and had a wide local excision about a week and a half later, and a sentinel lymph node biopsy that tested positive. A few weeks later, they went into my neck and took 81 lymph nodes that thankfully were all negative. And then that was followed with 3 years of your boy, ipilimumab, one of the few people I know personally that actually made it through the entire full infusions on that. I had 4 high dose and 8 low dose infusions. But that fall in 2016, and as you know, and your story is singular, but we probably share some experiences that through our diagnosis and treatment, we tend to put one foot in front of the other and trying to get our legs with this new adversity in our lives. But I was also promoted between my 2 surgeries at my job. I was a public librarian for Hennepin County up here, and that whole summer, just kind of going through the surgeries and the new information and the uncertainty, tied to promotion, where I'm trying to get my legs at a new job and a cancer diagnosis. I really didn't think too much about anything, and unfortunately, I'm very grateful for, as you as well, pretty fortunate treatment outcomes. And by August 2nd of that summer, I had a clear PET scan, and then we were just slated for the immunotherapy, which was more or less trying to put a warranty on my surgeries. But people were reaching out to me asking how I was doing, because I was pretty silent. I was kind of dead air on Facebook and just kind of trying to heal from 2 surgeries, which was slow, and trying to work, and then also trying to be a husband and a father and a homeowner at the same time. people reach out to me asking how I was doing, and I finally just kind of went and put a blanket post out that I was doing pretty good, but also kind of adding to that I'm in recovery for another affliction, and part of that recovery is service to the community. And I was thinking about what I was going to do, and my cancer center is again another element of good fortune. Is only 2 miles from my house, so I was thinking about maybe volunteering there or reaching out and maybe helping out in some way there. And then I went back to just kind of being the husband, father, homeowner, librarian, cancer patient. And then I met somebody named Robin, who you met as well, that fall, who was a stage 4 survivor at that point for 4 years. Starting a support group. We met by total accident, and she was sort of my portal into the sort of ultimate work that I do now. So she was really not only the gateway to the community that I was dealing with, but also a fundamental inspiration in kind of what I do. She was teaching classes north of the Twin Cities on sun safety, and really kind of all in. And her story is quite a miracle as well. And at that point, once we start talking about melanoma and social media, the algorithms pick that up. And then all of a sudden we're exposed to all sorts of support groups and things like that. And at that point, I was kind of keyed into the national foundations, and became a certified educator for the MRF, which is kind of what my first step in advocacy and education. And from there, I did a SharePoint blog for the library, which has kind of its own distinct entity in our county government. And that was picked up by the HealthWorks division, which is Hennepin County's health and wellness division. And they asked me to do a blog for the whole county. And I thought that would just be like a web posting or something, but that actually my story actually ended up in the inbox of 8,000 employees. And that, the response on that was insane. It took a day and a half. I made it a point to personally answer all of those emails. And some of these were stories that were, some had fortunate outcomes and some were less fortunate. It was a pretty emotional experience. And following that right away, I was asked to teach a couple classes. And that's where I developed the curriculum that Connect uses now. So, and the principle that we could integrate this into health and wellness programming, into corporate and institutional and government environments as part of any health and wellness programming that might be in place in any of those organizations. And that went off very successfully. We've been doing that for the last 6 years off and on. The pandemic has kind of thrown a wrench in some of the years in that process. But our primary purpose here at Connect is education. And that was really driven by the curriculum that I had created and had to refine. I mean, it was pretty nice that I had those repeat opportunities through the county to be able to use them as test subjects in ultimately refining this curriculum into a pretty potent and concise 45-minute presentation. Following that, like I went to Washington, D.C. for Hill Day in 2018 and have been active in the following years, every year. 2023 was year 6. And those are very fruitful experiences, really rewarding work to be able to sit down with our lawmakers like you did and ask them to support measures that fund research and education and other things, the whole tanning bed legislation. This year we had clinical trial equity, telehealth restrictions being lifted, and all sorts of things that happen on the national level with relate to melanoma. And then that fall, I was nominated by AIM to participate in the CDMRP, which is that just jumps out at me as some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. And I've served on 5 DoD panels, and really understand the importance of that component in federal research funding. We have the NIH, which is fantastic, which is a $9 billion flat funded, responsible for much of the foundational research and biology that occurs with all disease, genesis. But the CDMRP, the defense funded research, is really the high risk, high reward research that's where the crazy ideas become real. And immunotherapy, which I think is probably the most revolutionary medical advancement since antibiotics, was born out of that funding. So I've been as Connect has been for about the past year almost, we've been very active in supporting the CDMRP, not only through our own lawmakers in our state, but we're reaching out to lawmakers from every state. There'll be more on that coming as we progress through the summer. We're really, especially with the defense bill on the House and Senate floors as we speak, we'll see updates on that as we move into the summer. So, and then Connect, we're pretty active in fundraising right now, trying to get grants to fund our projects. We're trying to do more pop-ups on safety now that the pandemic restrictions have lifted. Minnesota is really famous for outdoor events and stuff, so we're trying to get that going. But that's the short story in brief. And like I said, we have a lot of
do y'all this is the pop, do y'all do those vending, not the vending machines, but like those out in public, like you have like near the water fountains or the whatever's little stations, but little sunscreen stations like at sports places, where you just go up there and go and get you some sunscreen.
We do our share of advocating for that. We're trying to like hit the municipality,
or like in the bathrooms at those sports places, sunscreen,
Yeah, that's the drive for that is there, and there are some communities that do have that here. It's something that there's not a whole lot of pushback on that, but it is a funding limitation with a lot of the municipal governments. But we're seeing more and more of that, which is really great. And some regional nonprofits have really taken it under their wing to get that expanded. And
right, because I always got sunscreen. I think I got a bottle in my car. I got it, in my room. I got it, wherever, my garage, for when I'm getting ready to mow the yard. You know what I'm saying? But my skin's like, dude, it's crazy. If you would have known me before cancer, I had a few moles and stuff. I actually had my birthmark removed when I was a teenager because it was big and brown and all that stuff. And, dude, I was always out in the sun. I was on swim team. I was going to the beach. I grew up in Southern California. I snowboarded, I surfed, I skateboarded, I did it, all that kind of stuff. And then, I always had jobs that were outdoors, you know what I'm saying? And but since I had mucosal melanoma, and it's not from the sun, and it's only like 1% of all melanoma, it's but it's still in the melanoma family. And anyways, because of all the treatment and everything, dude, I literally, I don't have any melanocytes, and so my skin is like so fair, and that's all, I'm real freckly and everything. And, I definitely, have to wear like long sleeves or UPF clothing, you know what I mean? Full time. And then definitely when it's, the sun's bursting and all that stuff, or just most of the time, but something, always wearing a hat of some sort. But if I can, something to protect my neck, cause that's always the most worst. But, I don't have any moles on my body. So when I go in for my dermatology checks, she'll look, I'll get the whole look over and everything, but I don't actually have any moles or anything. So, It's really weird, but well, if I don't put sunscreen and everything, I get real red, dude. I still have to apply a lot because it's just mainly the face and the neck, for me, and the hands.
And the fact is that despite the your melanoma, which isn't really the result of sun exposure, you, like me, are kind of walking proof that our bodies are capable of mutating into that. So the precautions you're taking are fantastic. And we all have our own systems of sun protection. I practice probably more sun avoidance than anything. I am by nature a very outdoor person. I grew up in South Dakota in a generation that didn't have any sunscreen or video games. So all we did was play outside until the street lights came on. And,
straight up.
And I came from, I'm the first diagnosis in the entire history of both sides of my very large extended families, and one with 3 generations of family practice physicians. So,
any kind of cancer or just melanoma?
We've been fortunately cancer free as well, except for recent generations. But the first diagnosis of melanoma was me, and
oh man,
I was in my early 50s, so I was kind of a member of the second largest segment prone to this, and as a result, I wear sunscreen on my hands every day. I wear long sleeves, for the most part all the time, and I ideally wait for cloudy days when I mow my lawn, but the times where I know I'm going to be outside, whether I'm a lousy golfer, but I love the game, and sunscreen is something I go through all the time as well. I just like to moderate my sun exposure. I'm a huge music fan too, and a lot of outdoor music events.
Do you get I like these I get these UPF, this is just a hoodie, but like I get these UPF hoodies from what I'm saying, that have like the hood, you know what I mean? Like O'Neill does them. I got a bunch of those from Dick's or something, but I'll put on one of those because they're UPF, you know what I'm saying, and they're lightweight and they're meant for surf, it's kind of surf gear and everything. And then I wear this kind of whatchamacallit hat, that's like a like a rounded deal, you know what I'm saying, whatever hat to try to kind of block all around, so I'm go sweat it out.
I was never much of
a put on jeans.
And I am now. I have a Coolie Bar, which is a UPF clothing manufacturer on the international level. It's 2 blocks.
Yeah, I know about Coolie Bar.
They're 2 blocks from my office.
Really?
Yeah, and I knew their marketing.
Real?
And I've got a Coolie Bar wardrobe that's really
extensive. Give them my regards. They are sponsoring my pickleball tournament with some bandanas.
Mm-hmm. I certainly will. They
do the MRF.
I also have a part-time job. I grew up in South Dakota, waterfowl and upland game hunter as well, and I work part-time at Filson, which is an outdoor outfitter founded in the late 19th century, and they've got a few UPF SKUs as well, but they also have some amazing hats. I wear their hat. I have their wide-brimmed hats in my car all the time, and when I'm outside, the baseball hats just don't work anymore for me. I have to wear something that covers my ears and shades my neck and do all that. So I totally get the thing that we impart with our instruction is, we cover a lot of stuff in 45 minutes in our class. There's a lot of data, a lot to go over, rates of occurrence and stuff, but we really don't. And we do that because we just really want to inundate these people as much as possible. But at the front of our presentation, the takeaway that we really want to have our enrollees walk away with is just to have kind of an elevated consciousness of the sun. Just kind of know when it's on you and know that you need to do something about that. And Minnesota is if you Google the CDC rate of occurrence for melanoma by state, you're going to see that the northern half of the U.S. is where the highest prevalence of that is. And
the UV.
Well, the northern half of the U.S. is, you'd think it'd be the Sun Belt states, but
No.
the fact is that the northern half of the U.S. is pretty much fair-skinned Northern Europeans, which are more susceptible to that. But also, as Minnesotans, we are really agnostic to the weather when it comes to being outside. We're the kind that sit on an upside down pickle bucket in the middle of a frozen lake, staring at a hole in the ice when it's 10 below zero and bombarded by UV, from 355 degrees. And that's, so we, we don't, a lot of people in the southern states, they go from the air conditioned house to the air conditioned car to the air conditioned office, air conditioned mall.
Yep.
And to their benefit, because their rate of occurrence is going to be less. And, there's plenty of people in the southern states that are definitely genetically or culturally prone to, coming down with what we have. And they're doing the right thing. They're wearing the sunscreen and the long sleeves, staying indoors and avoiding those peak hours, doing the stuff we learned, reactively. So.
Right. Yeah, dude. It's crazy. So what I really like is how you're connected to so many different organizations and different things. Let's talk about the MAC, Melanoma Action Coalition. Like how'd you get your involvement in that? What's
I think mainly, we've got, Connect is, we've got multiple professional affiliations that we're working toward, and MAC was the first one in early 2021, and we've got, there's individuals and member organizations that I've known for a long time that, kind of courted me with what MAC does, and then eventually, we chartered in 2020 in a pandemic where we really couldn't do much. So by late 2020, we were kind of like climbing the walls and wanting to do stuff. So we just decided to, throw caution to the wind and try to get something going. And then in early 2021, we joined MAC, and the theoretical benefits are obviously we can share resources and information with all of these. Ideally, when I started Connect, I wanted to, the main motivation to start Connect was really a lack of dedicated education, and not just melanoma awareness, but just sun safety as well. And the impact that we felt delivering this instruction in person was really high. I mean, the feedback from the surveys that the county was putting out was so good that they quit sending out surveys for our classes. And I don't mean to blow my own horn there, but it was really inspiring. But it was really inspiring for us to deliver that instruction and have that kind of feedback to the point where they're actually taking this actionable knowledge home and putting it into practice. So as opposed to, all of us can kind of look up sun safety on the internet. All of us can grab a brochure in the dermatology office, but when it's delivered to you in person, especially alongside a profound personal story, people listen. And all three of our board members have profound personal stories. And when we tie that to our class, we really end up with it's just a really satisfying teaching experience, to be honest with you. And we but our, and in addition to our advocacy, which is really kind of getting into the front of our priorities as well. But what I wanted Connect to be as well is just to sort of to serve as a paradigm. I think there's a lot of when you think about in person, the national organizations are great. I just love what everybody's doing because there's very little overlap in what they do, and they're all in. But the benefit of these regional nonprofits is that they can be a physical presence in these regions, and be able to have that in-person impact that we're dealing with. And I would love, Connect to not only be, a benefit to what we're doing here in the upper Midwest, but also I'd love it if it served as a paradigm for what a nonprofit could be anywhere. I just, we, and I say this all the time, it kind of takes a village, and I will share anything with anybody to help sort of get anybody off the ground if they want to do this in a different part of the country.
Are you or anybody from MAC going to be able to come to any of the MRF galas this year?
I'm not sure about the galas. I was invited to speak on behalf of With Love Me in 2019. That's in fact when I made the decision to quit the library. Was that night in New York City. I would love to make it to a gala. It's just the issue is more budgetary than anything. I have to confess that with the pandemic, fundraising has been a challenge. So
right.
And we're not going anywhere. We've proven that. I think that the fact that we've lasted, we chartered in February of 2020, exactly 5 weeks to the day before the national lockdown. And for a nonprofit organization reliant on in-person engagement, I mean, that could be a
right. Well,
but we're still here and
right.
and not going anywhere. Well,
I sent you an invite, and they're going to send out the save the dates by the end of next week, the week before Memorial Day, the weekend before Memorial Day, right before Don't Friday, I think, sometime next week. But there's I'm looking it up right now, but a prevention sponsor, I think you can get 4 guests, and it says, I think it's for $5,000, seating for 4 guests at the gala, name logo on save the date, name logo on the website. You get marketing, name logo recognition and printed program, half screen, add an electric journal, 4 VIP reception tickets. We got a fundraise for you to make sure that y'all can go. We got to get 4 members from MAC, so y'all can go. It's going to be October 26th. That's what we'll do.
Is that the New York gala?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that would be super. That would be super huge for both Connect and MAC. Or seating for 4. Name and logo on event and save the date for all the invitations. Name and logo on event website. Name and logo on all printed and virtual marketing items. Name and logo recognition and printed program, and a half screen ad and electric journal, and then you get to come. But dude, I think for both Connect and MAC, that would be huge because I'm gonna promote the shit out of the gala, of course. As soon as they have more advertisements about it, most definitely. I mean, I'm trying to build up my brand here. I'm all the different things I'm trying to do advocacy wise, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that'd be huge. I don't know, maybe there's another discounted sponsor level, but there's all kinds of different levels, but they just go up. After that, you have an advocacy sponsor, which is $10,000, which gets you 6 guests. Education sponsor, which is $25,000, which gets you a full table with 10 guests. And then up that, there's a research sponsor, which is $50,000, which is 10 guests but 20 VIP reception tickets. And then so it's I guess that would mean your spouses and everything. And then specialty sponsors, $75,000, and so up. I mean, to the top one as prevention sponsor, which is $100,000. Damn. There's only one left, it says. That means they must have sold out. That's awesome. I don't know. But yeah, dude, it's I'm hoping it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. But you know what I mean? Like, and there'll be a lot of people's there, a lot of different connections. You know, I mean, I guess this is the 22nd one, but this is the first one at the actual, or they moved it to the Plaza Hotel. So, I'm not sure what room it's going to be in. I've looked it up. You know, it'd be really tight if it was in the Grand Ballroom. That thing looks awesome. I have no idea.
Yeah, usually it's a pretty big venue. The one in 2019, it was at Cipriani, which is the event hall they actually built for the Titanic arrival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the thing is like 65 foot.
Yeah, I saw the previous years. You know, when I would look it up and everything and stuff. So it looks like I mean, like I've never been to a kind of event like that, and necessarily like kind of it's kind of like my survival party, you know, because like when I got back from my clinical trial or out of the hospital and everything, a couple months after that, I had my 38th birthday, and so all my family and everything came over and we kind of got together. But I was still like, you know, 6 weeks away from after your recovery, or 2 months away after recovery, so I didn't really get to celebrate. But now it kind of feels like this is going to be like a really fun celebration kind of a thing, you know. I mean, I invited, you know, as many folks as I could, which was like almost 75 people. I mean, just whether they come or not, you know, it's like you're getting like a graduation invitation, you know, I would imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's always cool to get, you know, something cool in the mail, right? You know, instead of getting bills, let's get an invitation. But it's like, you know, if you can come, cool. If you can't, it's all good, you know. But like, yeah, it would be super dope. That's why I'm trying to, you know, let people know way ahead of time. Like, man, like if you can make it happen, it's great. If not, it's all good. But, you know, I also wanted to ask you, because I also recently, so I was nominated. You said you were nominated through AIM for the CDMRP to do on that. Cody Banks, or that's Cody Barnett, not Cody Banks. Cody Barnett from the MRA. He nominated me through them to do for the CDMRP, and I had my interview thing with them yesterday with Jill and everything. And so I'm super excited for all of that. You know, she said this year it's virtual still, but next year it would be in person. Like, have you done it in person with them, or has it always been virtual?
No, I've done 3 panels virtually, but my first 2 were in person. First one was in Baltimore, and the second was in Reston, Virginia. The in-person engagement is really amazing because first of all, I think and I appreciate the virtual capability in the face of the pandemic to be able to preserve this forum and this process was critical. So I don't mean to malign the virtual at all, but the in-person for me, and again, because I'm such an in-person guy.
Yeah, I'm just like that. Is I'm saying
it's so much more engaging, it's so much more organic, and so much more visceral. But it's also the level of genius in the room is just, it was mind-numbing. It was kind of like, you know, like the MRA scientific retreat. You know, you can just the brilliance is palpable.
Yeah, you have all the science and all the you know, different connections of all the different parts that come together that make a team when you're like under care. You know, it's like you can see like from a patient like where all that stems from, just your doctor and like all the other, you know, branches.
You have a panel that you're serving on, you know, where you know, we're trying to evaluate impact. And again, the CDMRP, another standout benefit of the CDMRP is that it does introduce the consumer as a reviewer. So the patients, I can personally attest to the value of the consumer in scoring and critiquing these reviews, because the one example that comes to mind was a treatment that was, you know, it was just kind of going backwards, despite the fact that it had a reasonable amount of efficacy. and to have a patient in there actually introducing, you know, kind of quality of life as an option at that point, you know, because scientists, and, you know, to their credit, you know, they think about outcomes, and they think about results, and they think very linear, you know, they're very linear about those things. And on paper, you know, from a scientific standpoint, this program application, you know, looked viable. But, you know, when it comes to the side effects associated with it, and in the face of immunotherapy, we're looking at potentially a last line of defense, that, you know, maybe quality of life is more important at that point. And, you know, to have a consumer reviewer be able to not only score that from that perspective, but also defend it from that perspective. You know, I've witnessed that in those in that forum, and it's just, it makes your heart skip to be able to see that kind of collaboration and the invitation of all of those different viewpoints into a panel like that. So the virtual, just, it seemed a little, to be honest with you, it seemed a little more sterile, and I think the ability for the consumer reviewer to interject a perspective seemed a little more challenging. So I will, and I'm just being honest. So I'm excited to have those panels return in person. But I will also add that that the work that I've done on the CDMRP, and I've absolutely been blessed, maybe more than anybody else, with opportunities to contribute to this community, whether it's the With Love Me campaign and the Hill Day and the work on the CDMRP panels.
What
has been the most gratifying, without question. It's really amazing stuff.
now? Now through the MRF, after you become a certified melanoma educator, or I went and I did the same program because I signed up through their MRP peer review deal, and so we were on that call. What's the difference between the two, between what the CDMRP thing that we're involved with, and then also being on the MRP peer review?
The difference is primarily is going to be where the money's coming from. So the CDMRP is this year I actually have the defense appropriations bill. I got that in June. That's a $530 million cancer portfolio that's funded under the Department of Defense. So it deals with a wide range of afflictions. The format is similar. You know, the fact that the MRF is inviting consumers, but it's also the MRF's money that they're funding with. So functionally, they're very similar. I love the fact that it's funding melanoma research. I love the fact that consumer reviewers are participating in it, and also the scoring and the critiquing with the CDMRP is a lot more involved. So there's a lot of homework involved. You plan on wrapping your head around. You don't have to wrap your head around the science of it, but you have to wrap your head around the impact of it.
Yeah.
I was asked by the consumer reviewer coordinator for the CDMRP to be part of their mentor program that they were piloting, Mentor Core. And it really didn't take off too well. And one of the requirements of being a part of that is that it would sunset my panel involvement. And I did ask Elena if I could actually go back to a panel, and she said yes. And they unfortunately, on this last go around, ran out of panels before they got to my name. So I'm hopefully will be back involved with the CDMRP critiquing and scoring process, and hopefully get on a melanoma panel this year with them. So other than that, they're functionally very similar. They award money to research in melanoma. So that's what we like to see.
All right. Yeah. So I'm super stoked to be involved with both of those, you know. So That's what another thing we share in common. Um, I also noticed there's Rare Disease Week that happens in Washington, like right before we do Hill Days. Do you ever go to that?
I have not, and mainly, I mean, I'm getting invites right now to participate in a bunch of in-person meetings for the DHRC. So if I could like have a wormhole to Washington DC that I could dive into, I would really like that, because
Are they willing to pay your expenses to get there and all that stuff?
I would love to be there, just because 2 in-person meetings just turned into 5 in one day, and that would be like a very fruitful day to go and sit there. But I plan on doing a live very quickly. There's a bit of a stalemate with the federal budget in the House right now, so that defense bill is not getting marked up very quickly, so that I have a little time. But I'm going to do a Facebook Live pretty in the near future here, asking everybody to contact their local, find the congressman and their congressperson in their district and write them asking for support of the CDMRP, but specifically the $40 million we're asking for the melanoma research program. So that's kind of the priority there. And that's, I would love to be, one thing that I really appreciate from my own perspective is that, I've got skin in the game like you do. We're patients, we're survivors, we're in active surveillance. We've experienced this firsthand, but I also have skin in the game that this is my job. This is what, I've said this quite often, that, eventually, the ultimate goal for Connect Melanoma is to teach awareness and prevention until everybody knows what they need to do when they're out in the sun, and to advocate for research and education funding till we have those cures and vaccines. And the realistic picture we're painting here is that if we have 100% prevention compliance, and if we have cures and vaccines, I can shut the door on this place, So my ultimate goal really is to kind of be out of a job. And
yeah, that would be like ideally, like,
I've got a Gibson Les Paul 5 feet away from me. I'd rather be playing that in a punk band, to be honest with you.